kind of fresh weather. So with winter on the way, what's safe and what's not when it comes to staying active? Raywat Deonandan is a global health epidemiologist, associate professor at the University of Ottawa. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Let's run through a few things. One is, how safe is it to work out indoors? What do we know about that?
Well, it comes down to the mechanisms of transmission. And we think that this disease is passed on mostly from droplet transmission. That's when, you exhale these bits of mucus containing virus, and they tend to fall to the ground within 1 or 2 meters. That's why we wear a mask to prevent it. And the second most common way of transmission, we think, is airborne or aerosol. That's when these viral particles float about in the air for hours and possibly days. So it's the second that is harder to control. And the indoor environment, it's really a good environment for promoting aerosolization. So unless you've got good ventilation, open windows, air purifiers, filters, etc., you've got a good chance of having aerosolization take place. And the third kind of transmission is what we call fomite. That's when you touch a surface that someone else has touched, and maybe you touch your face. We don't think that happens a lot, but it's possible. So that's why we have the deep cleaning events happening, shared weights and exercise machines and so forth.
There was that big outbreak at the spin studio in Hamilton, Ontario. Is there something that would be particularly dangerous about that kind of environment?
Absolutely. Number one, it's a large number of people in an enclosed environment. So if somebody is infected and don't know it, they're exhaling into that environment and other people are exposed. Number two, you're probably closer together than you think. Even if you're respecting the 2-meter distance, you're huffing and puffing, and so the droplets are going further than they would normally. Number three, it's possible, and this isn't proven, but it's possible that droplets fall into the spin mechanism and get aerosolized that way, and then you're increasing the probability of airborne transmission. And number four, who knows how high the ceilings are and what the windows are open, etc. And that might be contributing to the lack of control over aerosolization.
And so if you wear a mask, it's a bit like altitude training. If you're huffing and puffing, you're going to be getting perhaps less oxygen. But if you wear a mask while you're spinning away on the bike, is that going to help?
The mask really only helps in diminishing the distance that droplets travel. The masks don't help in protecting you from aerosol particles. That's an important distinction, unless you're wearing an N95, medical quality mask, which is made for that purpose. In general, no. That's why for the threat of airborne transmission, really ventilation is our best bet. That's why it's important to be outside or have high ceilings and open windows and air purifiers, etc. The mask won't help that much in that capacity.
Let's listen to Julia Smith. She's a patron of that spin studio in Hamilton that had the outbreak, and she was, in fact, one of the people who got COVID there.
I found the lockdown very hard to deal with, not just from a physical perspective, but mentally. And so it was good to be back in the studio. I'd go back, tomorrow, because I feel that they took all of the necessary precautions and more. I really do hope that they don't close them indefinitely throughout the winter, which is also very hard because people are isolated in their homes and the winters here in Canada are long. It's a long time to be closed up.
Raywat, what do you make of that? Even somebody who is infected at a gym wants to go back. Her point is winters are long, and we need somewhere to exercise, especially now.
Yes, 100%. I can feel it. I'm a gym guy myself, and I'm feeling the absence of my gym. And so, yes, gyms are places where we learn to be healthy. And it's strange that in a health crisis, we are taking away one of the tools for becoming healthy. But I understand it, and I support the gym closures. I think, though, but when the case numbers come down, we should look into opening the gyms again safely with new guidelines. And these guidelines are going to change the more we learn about these things. And these include lower number of people. Maybe some activities can't happen, like spin classes, like anything in which you're in a group exhaling forcefully. And maybe have as many outdoor events as possible, have windows always open, and maybe have the same people in there every single day, like a classroom. So you have a set number of controlled exposures. There are a number of strategies we can apply still.
Do you worry that, again, in your own personal experience, it would be valuable here, that as these lockdowns continue, or the rolling lockdowns, that our mental health is really going to take a hit? I think of, why I work out, and it's to stay physically fit, but it's also because it clears my head.
Yeah. Now, nothing prevents us from working out as part of our regular lives outside of a gym. We don't require this institution to keep ourselves healthy. It's just an additional tool we can use. But maybe an opportunity for a culture shift in our nation as a whole, that maybe fitness has to be part of our everyday lives that doesn't require an additional expenditure and an external source to give us the tools to do so. I don't want to be diminishing the importance of that industry and to take jobs and money out of their pockets, but other cultures have this as part of their everyday lifestyles. Go for a walk, go for a run, play a game with your kids, whatever. So there are ways to augment our mental health without needing to spend money and time in a gym, but it does help. And I want the gyms to be open as soon as possible with the appropriate changes to make them safer.
But in a winter nation, those are things that we could do in terms of embracing winter as well, being out there and, as you say, taking that walk, playing with your kids, going for a run, or just doing something physically active outside.
Yeah, exactly. I see this as an opportunity for a cultural shift to embrace the outdoors, even in winter.
Are you going to do that now that you miss your gym?
No, I won't.
Do as I say, not as I do.
I'm enjoying my indoor workouts at home, so I don't need that. And I do walk the dog every couple hours. He drives me crazy and gets me outside that way. But for other people who need more intense exercise, I can see, a more intense run around the park. Now, of course, if it's a blizzard, it gets harder, right? So in that sense, we have to sort of find some new ways of exerting ourselves. Right. Luckily, there's no shortage of guidance online, no shortage of experts willing to share their experience and suggestions for at-home workouts.
Raywat, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Raywat Deonandan is an epidemiologist and associate professor at the University of Ottawa. How are you going to stay fit as winter approaches in the gym?